Pregame. Preview today's starting pitching matchup. Give you our keys to the game. Plus, we'll hear from manager Craig Stammen. From the Padres Radio Network, here's Sam Levitt.
San Diego Padres baseball coming up on 97.3 The Fan and the Padres Radio Network. As today, the Padres take on the Toronto Blue Jays in the second game of a three-game series. Our starting pitching matchup today on the mound for the Blue Jays, right-hander Trey Savage, and for the Padres, right-hander Walker Buehler. Hi, good everybody. Sam Levitt with you from inside the Western Metal Building here at Petco Park. First pitch coming up at 5:40 p.m. as the Padres continue this 7-game homestand, wrap up the first half before the All-Star break. Coming up in the next 50 minutes, we have a lot to do. You'll hear from Padres manager Craig Stammen. You'll hear from Blue Jays All-Star second baseman Ernie Clement. We check in with Tony Gwynn Jr. in just a little bit and much, much more. But first, it's time to set the table, brought to you by Fraser Farms Market. Set your table with the highest quality of natural and organic products from Fraser Farms Market, a San Diego original since 1971 with 3 locations, La Mesa Vista and Oceanside, and at FraserFarmsMarket.com. Padres come in 46-48. They're 2-3 on this 7-game homestand against Arizona and Toronto. Padres entering the day 5.5 games back of a wild card spot in the National League. Padres, and sorry to tell you this, Padre fans, but they are 15-28 since May 24th. That is the worst record in the major leagues in that span. So the Padres trying to get this thing pointed back in the right direction. Blue Jays, meanwhile, come in 45-49. They've won 3 in a row. They're looking to match their season high with a 4th consecutive win here today. Blue Jays entered today a game and a half out of a wild card spot in the American League. Well, the Padres opening the 3-game series against the Blue Jays here at Petco Park last night. Let's quickly rewind.
Did you miss what happened in the last Padres game? Let's take a look back with our Padres Rewind on the Padres Radio Network.
Friday night at Petco Park, bottom half of the first inning, Xander Bogaerts put the Padres in front.
2-0 pitch is hit in the air deep to left center field. Clase and Varsho both racing back. This one gonna go. Xander Bogaerts, a first inning 2-run home run out to deep left center field. His 9th of the year. And the Padres have jumped on Beaver. It's 2-0.
It would stay 2-0 for a bit. Sears was very good to start. J.P. Sears, that is. 3 scoreless innings. He issued a leadoff walk to Vladimir Guerrero Jr. to begin the 4th inning. George Springer hit a 1-out single. That brought up Alejandro Kirk.
A 1 pitch. Kirk swings, hits it in the air to right center field. Merrill on his horse into the gap. It's going to be over his head and out of his reach. Guerrero is in to score. Springer's right behind him. Ran through a stop sign and fell down. Now going back to third. The throw there not in time. And again, for the second straight year, an RBI double for Kirk against J.P. Sears. The Jays are on the board. It's 2-1.
Padres still led 2-1 going to the top of the 5th inning. Sears back to work. They put a couple of runners on base. The Blue Jays did. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. hit an RBI infield single to tie the game at 2-2, but it didn't stay tied for long. Next up, Kazuma Okamoto.
This one is launched in the air deep to left field. Sheets is back. He is feeling for the wall. At the wall, looking up, gonna go. Moonshot home run for Kazuma Okamoto, his 22nd of the year. And the Blue Jays have gone ahead for the first time tonight. A 3-run shot. It's 5-2.
Toronto scoring 4 runs in the top of the 5th inning. Padres still trailed 5-2 going to the 9th inning. Blue Jay closer Louis Varland on the mound for the Jays. He got the first 2 outs, but then Luis Campusano and Fernando Tatis Jr. hit 2 consecutive singles. That brought up Jackson Merrill.
Varland set to go. Look back. Now the pitch. Merrill swings, lines it the other way. That's going to be a fair ball into left field. Campusano rounding third on his way. He's going to score. Throw back to second. Tatis is there. Padres have gotten one here in the 9th inning, and it's now 5-3.
Xander Bogaerts dug in representing the winning run with the tying runs on base, but Bogaerts grounded out. The ball game over. Varland picking up the save, and that was it last night. In the series opener, the final score, Blue Jays 5 and the Padres 3. Now the Padres try to turn the page in the middle game of this 3-game set with first pitch coming up at 5:40. Let's go inside the Jerry Coleman Broadcast Center.
Let's take a trip up to the Padres broadcast booth for a deep dive on today's matchup with Tony Gwynn Jr. in our Padres game preview on the Padres Radio Network.
Well, Tony, let's start a little bit big picture here because the Padres, after last night, they remained 5.5 games out of a wild card spot in the National League. There is a lot of baseball left to play. However, it's becoming pretty clear that the Padres are going to have to start building some momentum, going on a run, getting hot, whatever way you want to put it, to make up that ground. Ultimately, haven't been able to do it the last month and a half. Tony, what is the formula for the Padres building some momentum heading into the All-Star break and then hopefully right out of the break as well?
I mean, the obvious answer is the pitching and the hitting have to get on the same page and like happen at the same time is what I mean, right? We've had pitching, we've had, no hitting. We've had hitting, we've had, no pitching. And so you've got to get on the same page in terms of putting it all together. But, at some point you have to start to evaluate your roster and if they're capable of making a run like that. You feel like they're, because you watch them do something similar at the beginning of the season, but outside of April, we really haven't seen that type of play really for the majority of the season.
Yep. Well, we'll see if they can pick up a couple of wins heading into the break and then enjoy the break and start hot out of the break on a long road trip. Tony, let's talk about some of the particulars of this matchup here today. Walker Buehler on the mound for the Padres. Walker had been so good, so consistent for about a month and a half until these last couple of starts. Tony, your thoughts on Walker Buehler, what these last couple of starts have entailed, and how he gets things back on track in this one?
I think for Walker, it's just been pretty simple. Command. He just, the last 2 or 3 outings, he just hasn't commanded the ball the way we saw him do for about a month. And so for Walker, I think that's what it's about, him getting back on track, being able to throw the ball where he wants, not falling behind, because that seems to have been the trend the last 2 outings for him. And, he's been one of the Padres' better pitchers prior to those last couple outings. So they'd love to see him get back on track here tonight.
Meanwhile, on the mound for the Blue Jays, right-hander Trey Savage, and he's an interesting name, Tony, because he burst on the scene late last year. He was a big part of that Blue Jay run to coming just a couple of outs away from winning the World Series last year. I'm sure you watched a lot of that postseason, what Savage did, and he's had a pretty nice year at 22, his first full season in the major leagues. Your thoughts on Trey Savage coming into this start against the Padres?
Yeah, getting a chance to compete in his first full season, he hasn't been disappointing at all.
Yeah.
I think Trey. I guess the positive about facing the Savage is the Padres have had some experience with fastball split guys. Right, they've seen Yamamoto, I don't know, a billion times it feels like at this point, and so they have some experience. It's a different look, straight over the top, kind of Iron Mike-ish, if you will. But so it may perform a little different or act a little different as it approaches the plate. But I do think it is an advantage for the Padres that they have seen guys that are similar to them, especially recently. So you hope that they can use that to their advantage. But I think the offense, again, if they're on the heater, they can kind of adjust off of that and see where it goes from there. But I'm interested to see how they approach the Savage here in the early portion of this game.
Tony, just to dive a little bit deeper into the offense, I think what's a little bit frustrating from a Padres standpoint is they looked so good in that game on Wednesday against Arizona. 10 runs, 13 hits. They are moving the line. And then the last couple of games against Kelly on Thursday and then yesterday against Shane Bieber just was a very different story. What did you see the last couple of days from the Padres offense, and I guess more generally how they generate more offense and more runs here today?
The interesting thing about those 2 nights, and I'll put the Merrill Kelly one out because Merrill Kelly got on a roll there, and we've seen him perform at that level before. But in between that, you saw the Padres be able to put up some runs, and I think the only reason why last night looks different than the previous nights where they put up runs is because they were worse with runners in scoring position than they were in the other 2 days. They had a bunch of hits last night. But they couldn't. 1 for 7 isn't going to cut it. I mean, and on the flip side, the Blue Jays have 3 knocks with runners in scoring position, and so to me, that's where it kind of boils down, especially as of recent weeks. The offense has looked better overall in terms of the amount of hits, but they still are struggling when it's at its most important time, which is runners in scoring position. And so, it's kind of been the theme all year. They've got to improve specifically in that portion of their game offensively.
Yeah, Padres 1 for 7 with runners in scoring position yesterday. The lone hit with a runner in scoring position came in the 9th inning. Padres did get the winning runs to the plate last night, unable to get that one more big hit they needed. Tony, appreciate the time as always. We'll talk to you and Jesse coming up at 5:30. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Sam.
All right, that's Tony Gwynn Jr. joining us on our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show here on the Padres Radio Network. Yeah, no doubt about it. Runners in scoring position has been a big issue for the Padres last couple of days. We'll see if the Padres can find a way to deliver in those situations. A little bit more here today. Again, right-hander Trey Savage on the mound for Toronto. Right-hander Walker Buehler on the mound for San Diego. When we return, we'll hear from Padres manager Craig Stammen. Also take our first look at the Padres lineup here today. A little bit later, I go one-on-one with Blue Jays second baseman Ernie Clement. Much more to do as we get ready for first pitch here in downtown San Diego. Stay tuned on the Padres Radio Network.
Stay tuned to the Eco.
EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you inside the loft here at the Western Metal Building at Petco Park. First pitch coming up at 5:40 as we get ready for Game 2 of this 3-game series between the Padres and the Toronto Blue Jays. Blue Jays winning last night's series opener by a final score of 5-3. As always, our pregame coverage brought to you by EcoWater SoCal, keeping it soft since 1925. Visit EcoWaterSoCal.com or call 760-350-3338. That's 760-350-3338. Let's take a look at the Padre lineup here today. It looks like this. Fernando Tatis Jr. in right field leading off. Jackson Merrill in left field batting second, center field batting second. Xander Bogaerts at shortstop batting third. Manny Machado, the DH, batting cleanup. Gavin Sheets in left field batting fifth. Ty France at first base batting sixth. Jake Cronenworth at second base batting seventh. Luis Camposano doing the catching and batting eighth. And Sungmoon Song at third base and batting ninth in this one. On the mound for the Padres today, right-hander Walker Buehler. On the mound for the Jays, right-hander Trey Savage. Padres did make a move earlier today. They reinstated right-hander Matt Waldron from the 15-day IL. They optioned right-hander Johnny Brito back to AAA El Paso. With that in mind, let's go downstairs and hear from Padre manager Craig Stammen for tonight's game.
Let's pull up a seat in the manager's office and hear from Padres skipper Craig Stammen. Served up by Sinley Food. If you've had better chicken, you must be a rooster.
Walker Buehler looking to bounce back after a couple of rough starts. What would you like to see from him early today?
Yeah, just compete early, put the past 2 outings behind him and get back to throwing strikes the way he has, quality strikes, competing, and, let the results go where they go.
You guys recalled Matt Waldron today. What did you see from him in his rehab outings that told you guys he was ready to come back?
Yeah, he's looking healthy, looking good. He's been able to pitch multiple innings. I think he got up to 3-4 innings. So, he's ready to help us in any role. And right now it'll be out of the bullpen.
And the corresponding move, Johnny Brito back down to AAA. What was that conversation like with him?
Yeah, it's never easy to send anybody down. But I think what he showed us here in the 2 outings that he got to pitch is that he's back healthy. And that was number one goal after Tommy John surgery is seeing, him be the same person that he was, before he left when we sent him down to get stretched out as a starter and then have the injury. So exciting to see him. He's in really good shape. He's in really good spirits. He knows he's throwing the ball well. He'll go down to El Paso, work out as a reliever instead of a starter, get used to that routine a little bit, and then be able to be called to back up whenever we need him.
And Joe Musgrove, 10 years of service time for him today. To be able to see one of your guys reach that milestone, I know that he hasn't been able to help you guys in the capacity, of course, that he would want to on the field, but just for someone to reach that milestone, what does that mean to a player?
Yeah, it's very rare for a player to get 10 years service time. To have that achievement is pretty amazing. Joe has stuck through a lot of ups and downs in his career. Right now he's in a little bit of a low spot trying to come back, but I think there's a lot left to come with Joe. I know he's excited about how he feels right now and what's going forward, but quite an accomplishment to have 10 years service time. Just an amazing career that he's had, and especially here at the Padres, he's accomplished a lot.
How much did Brito pitching yesterday and just getting a fresh arm available for the next couple of days play into getting Waldron back?
Yeah, it played. You're always trying to maximize your roster and use it in the best way you can. Waldron is eventually going to have to come off the IL and, use a guy to where he's unavailable for the rest of the first half. It's good to have that extra bullpen arm, at the end of the first half and going into the second half.
MLB draft today, Padres took a right-handed pitcher. You know what that's like to get drafted. Can you tell us what it was like when you found out you were getting selected by a major league organization?
Yeah, it's a dream come true is what it is. It's something that you dreamed of as a little kid and then tried to work really hard for. For me, it was through high school and through college, and you just never know, if it's going to happen or not. And then when it does, it's a little bit of oh my gosh, I actually made it. And then the next part is, all right, what's the next goal? The next goal is, hopefully try to make it to the big leagues. And, all these guys are going through a phenomenal day. Their families are going to celebrate, and they likely should. And then it's time to get back to work.
That was Padres manager Craig Stammen earlier today inside the Padres dugout. Yeah, Craig selected all the way back in 2005, the 12th round by the Nationals out of the University of Dayton. And Craig, of course, going on to have a very long career in the major leagues. Padres made their first selection of the draft earlier today, the 21st overall pick. Padres selecting right-hander Coleman Borthwick out of South Walton High School in Florida. A lot of upside there. Borthwick dominant during his senior season in high school. The Gatorade High School Player of the Year selection in Florida, had a 0.21 ERA with 121 strikeouts and 65 plus innings as a senior in Florida. So congratulations to Coleman Borthwick, the newest Padre prospect in the system. And we'll maybe hear from Coleman tomorrow on our pregame coverage. He spoke with the media earlier today. Might also hear from AJ Preller and Chris Kemp of the Padres front office tomorrow as well. Get a little insight on the pick of Borthwick and what the Padres have been up to on the first day of this MLB draft and beyond. Let's quickly pause for station identification on the Padres radio network.
KWFN and KWFN HD1 San Diego.
This is Walker Buehler, pitcher for the San Diego Padres. You're listening to Padres Baseball on the Padres radio network.
And Odyssey Sports Station.
Sam Levitt with you here inside the loft at the Western Metal Building at Petco Park. First pitch is coming up at 5:40 as the Padres try to even up this three-game series against Toronto at a game apiece. Let's quickly tell you who's hot, who's not.
Which player is locked in at the dish? Who needs to step up their game? This is Who's Hot, Who's Not. Presented by ASAP Drain Guys and Plumbing, a division of Anderson Commercial, your full-service plumber serving San Diego County.
We take a look at who's hot and who's not. Let's begin with the hot category. How about Fernando Tatis Jr.? He's batting .345 in his last 7 games with 3 doubles in that span. Fernando continuing to be pretty good out of the leadoff spot for the Padres, back in that leadoff spot here today. As far as the not category, we take a look at Gavin Sheets. He's taken an offer in his last 4 games. In fact, he's 0 for his last 12, and we'll see if Gavin can get it going here today, playing left field, batting 5th for the Padres in this one. And that's a quick look at who's hot, who's not. Fernando in the hot category, Gavin Sheets in the not category. Now let's take a look at some Major League headlines as we go around the horn.
Let's examine the most important news and the latest information you need to know in the world of Major League Baseball. Sam Levitt takes you around the horn. Presented by Valley View Casino and Hotel. Get ready for Major League winning when you join Valley View Casino and Hotel's Players Club and receive over $200 in free instant offers. Visit valleyviewcasino.com to learn more today.
Well, like we said, day 1 of the MLB draft today in Philadelphia. The White Sox selecting Rock Chalowski of UCLA, standout shortstop with the number 1 overall pick. Then it was Tampa Bay selecting Grady Emerson, a high school shortstop, with the number 2 pick. And then Von Lackey, catcher from Georgia Tech, was the number 3 pick. So a lot of action today from around by the way, that number 3 pick was to the Twins, but a lot of action. I'm not going to go through every pick right now, but check out the draft, see what players teams are selecting here on day 1. And we told you about the tall, powerful right-hander at a high school that the Padres selected with their 21st overall pick. Some other news. Left-hander Justin Robleski became the 6th member of the Dodgers on the National League All-Star team. Also, White Sox outfielder Tristan Peters was added to the American League squad earlier today. Robleski replacing Cincinnati's Chase Burns, and Peters is taking the place of Nick Hertz, who was put on the IL by the A's earlier because of a sprained right thumb. So a couple of all-star substitutions. Brewers put left-hander Kyle Harrison on the IL with tightness in his throwing forearm. And finally, Kyle Schwarber, we told you yesterday, participating in the Home Run Derby. Also, powerful White Sox rookie Munetaka Murakami also participating in the Home Run Derby. So the full field is now Schwarber, Bryce Harper, Wilson Contreras, Jack Caglione, Junior Caminero, Jordan Walker, Ben Rice, and Murakami. They will be the 8 players participating in the Home Run Derby. Should be a lot of fun to watch in Philadelphia on Monday. And that is a quick look at some of the headlines from around the major leagues as we get you ready for game 2 of this 3-game set coming up here at Petco Park against the Toronto Blue Jays. When we come back, I go one-on-one with Blue Jay All-Star second baseman Ernie Clement. We have our keys to today's game and much, much more. First pitch coming up at 5:40 right here on the Padres Radio Network.
Hello, friends. It's Woodsy here.
EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you inside the loft here at the Western Metal Building at Petco Park. First pitch is coming up at 5:40 as the Padres take on the Toronto Blue Jays. Walker Buehler on the mound today for San Diego. Trey Savage on the mound for the Blue Jays. We'll talk more about that pitching matchup coming up in just a little bit. Plenty of people here inside the loft as we get ready for this one, enjoying their beers and the great food they have here at Petco Park. You know, yesterday I told you that you could find me on social media. You could comment on the 97.3 The Fan YouTube stream. Let me know what you thought I should eat for dinner yesterday. I hate to say I actually didn't listen to any recommendations yesterday. I kind of went back on my word. I was tight on time. I wanted to stay healthy. So I actually got a salad from Seaside Market, which was delicious and a great option here at the ballpark. But I did not go too crazy yesterday. So we'll see what's on the menu here today. I did eat in the press box, I don't know, a couple of hours ago. So I may not have a huge meal during the game. But hey, if you have any good food recommendations that you've tried lately here at the ballpark, you want to let me know what I should get either today or tomorrow or later in the season, you can let me know on social media, Sammy Lev, SAMMYLEV on X or Instagram. And of course, you can also comment on the 97.3 The Fan YouTube stream as well. I go one-on-one with All-Star second baseman Ernie Clement of the Blue Jays in just a little bit. But right now, let's take a look at today's injury report.
Who's in? Who's out? This is the Bada Fulkerson Injury Report, presented by San Diego's Bulldog Injury Attorneys, who hope you're never in an accident. But if you are, make Bada Fulkerson the first call you make. Hit them up 24/7 at badafulkerson.com.
Well, the Padres, again, did make a move earlier today. Like we said a little while ago, they reinstated right-hander Matt Waldron from the 15-day IL, and they optioned right-hander Johnny Brito to AAA El Paso. So that was the lone move of the day on the injury front. Waldron is back and activated. He will be available out of the bullpen today. Brito going back down to AAA. One interesting note that Craig Stammen said a little bit earlier, Brito will be worked as a reliever down at AAA. So looks like the Padres want to have a little optionality with Brito. Maybe use him out of the bullpen later this year. And that's a quick look at today's injury news on the Padres side of things. Just that Waldron move back to the major leagues from the IL. Let's take a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard.
Let's take a trip around the bigs to highlight the scores that matter most with our out-of-town scoreboard. Presented by Jensen Premium Beef Patties. Always a hit for grilling.
We take a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard on this Saturday. We had a doubleheader today in Pittsburgh. The Pirates winning game one of that doubleheader 7-6. They won game two 3-2. We'll have more on that doubleheader and all these games coming up a little bit later. Twins beating the Angels earlier today, 5-3 in Minnesota. White Sox over the A's, 1-0 in Chicago. Yankees beat the Nationals 4-2 in D.C. Giants beat the Rockies 4-2 in San Francisco. Red Sox blanked the Mets 4-0 in New York. The Guardians beat the Marlins 4-1 in Miami earlier today. Rays over the Mariners 6-1 in Tampa Bay. Have a handful of games going on right now. Phillies ahead of the Tigers 4-1 in the 8th inning in Detroit. Orioles lead the Royals 3-0 in Baltimore in the 5th. Astros lead the Rangers 7-0 in Arlington in the 4th inning. Reds lead the Cubs 1-0 in Cincinnati in the 4th. The Cardinals lead the Braves 3-0 in St. Louis in the 4th inning. One game yet to begin aside from this one. Diamondbacks and the Dodgers in LA at 6:10. Brandon Pfaadt on the mound for Arizona. Yoshinobu Yamamoto on the mound for LA. And that is a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard. Again, much more on all those games coming up during our post-game coverage a little bit later. Well, Ernie Clement had a fantastic postseason with the Blue Jays last year in their run-up to Game 7 of the World Series. Clement's got a really interesting story. Grew up in Rochester, New York. He received a partial scholarship to the University of Virginia to go play there. Ended up being a fourth rounder by Cleveland in 2017. Out of Virginia, really didn't latch on with the Guardians. Then he was picked up by the Athletics and then eventually found his way to Toronto, where he's really found a home. And after having a terrific postseason last year, a terrific year last year, Clement is now hitting .298, 7 home runs, 30 RBIs, an American League high, 23 doubles on the season. He's leading off playing second base for Toronto today. And by the way, he's also the starting second baseman for the American League All-Star team Tuesday in Philadelphia. I caught up with Blue Jays All-Star second baseman Ernie Clement earlier today inside the Blue Jay clubhouse. Sam Levitt here on the Padres Radio Network as we get ready for today's game against the Toronto Blue Jays. And right now I'm joined by the Blue Jays' Ernie Clement. Well, Ernie, first off, congratulations. Your first All-Star appearance coming up in Philadelphia. Your excitement for the All-Star game.
Yeah, it'll be great. Got 2 more here before we get going, but I'm definitely excited.
Ernie, you know, your story is such a unique one, so interesting. The way you've achieved this level, the way you've become a star in Toronto, going to the All-Star game. I want to go back to growing up in Rochester. What was early life like? What was baseball like in Rochester? And from what I understand, you went down to a camp at the University of Virginia where you got found by the program. How did you end up at Virginia, and what was your early baseball life like?
Yeah, I just really loved the game. My dad got me into it at a young age, and it was just, my favorite thing. So just wanted to play as long as possible. And it's pretty crazy, the journey that it's taken me on.
Yeah. When you look back, what do you feel like the key has been getting to this point in your career through some of the different stops, even in the major leagues?
Yeah, I think it's just my love for the game. It's kept me going through the hard times and just made me appreciate all the cool opportunities even more. So I'm just really fortunate to still be doing it.
What's clicked for you in particular since arriving in Toronto?
Yeah, they've just let me be myself. This is a special place. It's where I want to be. I think it's where a lot of guys want to be, and it's just a great group here. So I'm fortunate to be a part of it.
How would you describe your season and the team's season so far? I know a little bit of a slow start. You've won 3 in a row. How would you describe it?
Yeah, there's a ton of ups and downs. It's like any other baseball season personally and as a team. So you just got to kind of ride the wave and try to scratch a couple wins here out to finish the second half or the first half, and then go into the second half and just kind of do our thing. And as long as you win enough to get into the playoffs, anything can really happen. So we're staying pretty positive about where we're at.
We're joined by the Blue Jays, Ernie Clement, here on the Padres Radio Network. Ernie, when you look at your journey in the major leagues in particular, you came up with Cleveland, you had a couple of stops before you got to Toronto. When you talk to younger players, minor leaguers, or even guys that are, bouncing around from team to team, trying to create that steady footing in the major leagues, what is the advice that you give a guy like that?
Yeah, it's tough. It can be really hard at times. You just got to believe in yourself, put the work in, and fall back on all the preparation that you do, and that belief that you belong and that you can do it. And it's just you can't give up if you really love something enough. You won't take no as an answer.
Beyond even just the mental side, the belief, what about kind of the baseball work itself as far as adjustments and improving things like that?
Yeah, I mean it's constant. We show up every day, trying to get better, and there's, even if it's something small, there's something you can do every day to get better. And that's something that I've been fortunate enough to be taught early on, and just lucky to be here, and you can't take a second for granted.
We're joined by the Blue Jays, Ernie Clement, here on the Padres Radio Network. Ernie, looking back at the postseason last year, I know it was obviously a tough ending, but for you personally, you had such an incredible run with what you did offensively. What did you learn about having success in the postseason, at least on a personal level, with the way you performed last year?
Yeah, I mean, I learned from all my failures, previously, and I prepared and treated it like another game, and I was just ready for those moments, and ready to just help the team win. I simplified it as much as possible, and tried to not make the moment bigger than it was, and just help these guys win a baseball game that day. So it's just as simple as possible.
Speaking of a guy who seemed ready for the moment last year, the guy on the mound today, Trey Savage, he obviously burst onto the scene late last year, ends up being a huge part of that postseason for your team. What stands out about Trey, the way he's shown up at the age of 21, 22, and accomplished what he's accomplished so far?
Yeah, he's amazing. He's just a steady presence out there. He doesn't make the moment too big, and he goes out there and takes care of business, and it seems like he's always ready to take the ball.
Ernie, really appreciate the time. Congratulations on all your success. Enjoy the All-Star game, and we'll talk to you again down the road.
Awesome. Thank you.
That was Blue Jays second baseman Ernie Clement. Again, the all-star starting second baseman for the American League. Of course, the Padres will have their representative Mason Miller heading to the all-star game on Tuesday in Philadelphia. Should be a lot of fun to watch that all-star game. But first things first, 2 games remaining before the break, including the middle game of this series here today between the Padres and the Blue Jays. Let's take a look at our keys to today's game here in downtown San Diego.
How will the Padres unlock a win today? These are the keys to the game. Presented by Rock and Block Turf and Hardscapes. Beautiful artificial turf that stays green all year long. Trust and experience. The job isn't done until it's done right. See them at rockandblocklandscape.com.
Key number 1, slow down Okamoto. Kazuma Okamoto has 3 home runs in his last 4 games now, 22 home runs on the season for the Jays. Okamoto has 3 home runs in his last 4 games, as I said, equaling Shohei Ohtani's record for the most home runs, 22 by a Japanese-born player in their rookie season. Sorry, I repeated that twice there, kind of. 3 homers in 4 games. One more time for you. And again, 22 now, tying Shohei Ohtani for the rookie record for a Japanese-born player. As far as a Blue Jays rookie record, only Eric Hinsky, who hit 24 in 2002, and JP Arancibia, who hit 23 in 2011, have more home runs as a rookie in Jays club history. So Okamoto certainly on pace to break those records, become the all-time leader for home runs by a rookie in Jays franchise history. Where would the Jays be without Okamoto? No other Blue Jay has double-digit home runs this season. How about this? Okamoto's 62 RBIs are 24 more than any other Blue Jay this season. Had the big go-ahead 3-run home run in the 5th inning yesterday, and we'll see if the Padres can slow down Okamoto here today. Key number 2, go yard against the Savage after starting his season with 37 consecutive innings without allowing a home run. Blue Jays starter Trey Savage has allowed 7 home runs in his last 36-plus innings, so Savage lately has been very susceptible to the long ball. Can the Padres find a way to hit a couple out against the Savage? That is key number 2. Key number 3, more from the X-Man. Xander Bogaerts hit his 9th home run of the season last night. He entered that game just 4 for 28 in his prior 8 contests. And Xander batting third once again between Merrill and Manny in the Padres lineup here today. And that is a quick look at our keys to Game 2 of this 3-game series. When we come back, we'll talk about one other player in the Padres lineup to keep an eye on here today, plus a much deeper dive into today's starting pitching matchup. Veteran right-hander Walker Buehler against 22-year-old right-hander Trey Savage. Our pitching matchup today, we talk about that when we return on the Padres Radio Network.
Keep it locked to the
Our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you inside the loft here at the Western Metal Building at Petco Park. First pitch coming up at 5:40. We send things out to Jesse and Tony in under 6 minutes. Let's tell you what to watch for in today's game.
What's the one thing Sam Levitt will be keeping his eye on in today's game? This is What to Watch For. Presented by Genesis Home Improvements, San Diego's trusted painting, roofing, and window company. Save 15% today on a new beginning for your home. Visit GenesisHomeImprovements.com.
What to watch for here today? How about Ty France, who is playing first base and batting sixth for the Padres here today? He had 2 hits with a double in yesterday's series opener against Toronto. Ty had been just 1 for 16 in his 4 games before yesterday, so let's see if Ty France can follow up a nice game yesterday with another good one here today. France getting hit in the hand during that series in LA. Sounded like he was still dealing with that a little bit as well. Can't explain a little bit of his struggles before yesterday, but was back at it. First start in a few games, 2 hits yesterday. Can Ty France have a major impact on game 2 of this 3-game series? Let's dive into today's starting pitching matchup.
Let's break down how today's starters are shaping up with our starting pitching preview. Brought to you by Harrah's Resort Southern California and the First Down Sports Bar in Funner, California. Don't just watch the match, experience the glory. Head to Funner for every World Cup match to enjoy stadium-level energy and amazing specials at the best sports bar in SoCal.
On the mound for the Toronto Blue Jays today, right-hander Trey Yesavage, just 22 years old. Yesavage 4-4 with a 3.31 ERA in 13 starts so far this season. 73-plus innings, 68 strikeouts, 32 walks. Yesavage debuted in September of last season, then was a key part of the Blue Jays' run to Game 7 of the World Series last year. 5 starts, 6 appearances in the postseason, a 3.58 ERA in 27-plus innings in the postseason last year. Last pitched a week ago against the Mariners, gave up 3 runs, 2 earned in 6 innings. Jays have not played well when the Savages started this season. They've dropped 7 of his 13 starts this year. How about this? In the 7 losses, the Blue Jays have scored just 16 runs in those 7 games. So hopefully the Blue Jays once again will not provide a whole lot of run support for the young right-hander Trey Yesavage. Meanwhile, right-hander Walker Buehler on the mound for the Padres. Buehler was so good in the month of June. 2-0, a 1.71 ERA, 5 earned runs given up in 26 innings and a third. But his 2 starts in July against Arizona and Chicago, the Cubs, they've been very, very different. He's given up 16 earned runs and 5 home runs in 9 combined innings. The Padres have been outscored 31-3 combined in those 2 games. And that is a look at our starting pitching matchup here today between Trey Yesavage and Walker Buehler. Well, the Padres losing on Thursday, losing on Friday, trying to bounce back in the second game of this 3-game series. And when we come back, we send things out to Jesse Ackler and Tony Gwynn Jr. They have the full starting lineups, first pitch, and all the play-by-play. I'll talk to you on our post-game coverage. You're listening to your home for San Diego Padres baseball, 97.3 The Fan, and the Padres Radio Network. Enjoy the game, everybody.